A lot of mapping, high-res stuff in the area.
What is the general depth of that area?
I think it was like it was like abyssal plain, like 5,000 or 6,000 meters or something.
Wow.
I could be wrong. So we're in very deep water here at 3,200. Someone on the internet could probably correct me, but a lot of the area was deep, 5,000.
So if you're trying to map something with the type of resolution that you would need to potentially find a wreck of that size, I mean, with the new technology, would you need to get your towfish pretty far down there?
Well, that was the thing, is a wreck of what size? We don't know if it's fully intact.
And it wouldn't be for sure.
Right.
But we wouldn't know how big the pieces would be at all.
And so shipboard multi-beam at that depth would not be useful to you. It would be useful to assess the terrain, but not to locate anything. So you'd need AUVs, which were employed. But AUVs, you know, to get high resolution data, you're talking about just time-wise and effort and money, probably a very small section.
How long can an AUV, a typical AUV, I'm sure they all probably vary based on their specs, kind of operate independently?
Yeah, it depends on their battery.
I think I've done like 4 or 5 days maybe with Sentry.
Yeah, it's a pretty robust AUV.
Pretty big.
Yeah, I think that would.
You can climb on top of it. It's kind of the size of a Brahma bull or something.
Some of the more like torpedo-like ones would be probably.
The gliders wouldn't be helpful here,
days.
But AUV would.
What type of area could something like that map in that time?
Depends on your.
How
what your survey would be. You know how close you are to the bottom and.
What tools you're using to look.
Is it correct that you can't process the information until it gets back and you download the information? So you can't do it as it's out there.
Yeah, so
you can with an ROV.
You just go down and, you know, it's mapping.
And just wait for it to come back.
You process the data while you send it down on another little mission.
Okeanos is getting ready to do a pretty interesting technology demonstration, or 2019 technology demonstration. They're going to start July 18th. You can follow along with them. They're going to release the Kraken.
Ooh.
It's a synthetic aperture sonar towfish.
Oh yeah.
They also have REMA 6,000 or 600. Sorry, excuse me. AUV on board. Some other pretty cool toys. 360-degree 4K camera. They're
what is it called? System. The Draken?
Kraken.
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 Is Kraken Robotics is some guys in Canada and some guys in Germany.
Who's doing this? GFOE?
The Okeanos Explorer.
Yeah, that's
NOAA.
GFOE.
Yeah, the boat is in on the East Coast now. They're in getting mobilized up. Some pretty cool toys. You can check it out on the NOAA website there.
What are they actually doing? Like, are they looking for something or just running a pattern?
Not sure of the full-on details, but part of it is a risk assessment for potentially polluting wrecks in the U.S. waters.
Oh, okay.
But the new toys that they're playing with are pretty much the latest and greatest. The hovering AUV, so the AUV has the capability to go hover over a spot to get detailed resolution. The synthetic aperture sonar is a
Thanks to John and Tahoe for writing in. Dane in Pittsburgh asks about seismic activity, if that in the area may have somehow potentially sunken any artifact deeper into the sediment. Any thoughts on that, Dr. Megan?
I would doubt it, but then again, I am not a seismic geologist or whoever you would have to be to know that information. But I would highly doubt that.
Question coming in about towing Argus and the side scan sonar attached. This actually is not the first time we've done it. However, it's the first time in a while it has been done. I believe Dr. Mike Brennan said the last time it was done was 2010. So that would have been, I believe, in the Mediterranean quite a ways and while ago. Not something that we do particularly often. Thanks for writing in. Keep those questions coming.
Thought it was really funny this morning. People wonder what we do for fun on the ship. So I went to the gym this morning and got on the treadmill for half an hour, and I used the same program I did yesterday, but today the program seemed like it was just constant hills. I was either going uphill or downhill, and I didn't remember that that program was on the treadmill was so hilly until I looked out the porthole and saw that I was going over the swells on the treadmill.
Right.
So first I was going uphill and then I was going downhill. I couldn't walk as far, even though it was still half hour. I couldn't walk as far as when it was flat.
I slept, and I gotta tell you, it was pretty fun.
That's how you
It's
had your
quite
fun.
nice. Especially that whole part about waking up early and then going back to sleep. It's outstanding. It's like overtime.
That's the best sleep, is after 4 a.m.
Yes.
I have a little sleep before midnight, and that's kind of like it's a not very happy sleep. And then
Yes.
the sleep after 4 a.m. is the best sleep, except for this morning when I had to wake up at 6 to go do an Intrepid interaction, which was absolutely fun, and I loved it, and I'm glad that I did it. Not saying I didn't, but I will say that waking up was not the happiest moment.
So I take it you're not a morning person.
Oh no, I am. It's just waking up at 6 after you went to bed at 4. I don't think anybody's enough of a morning person to do that happily.
Sunshine and rainbows.
I had to do that yesterday. Yesterday was Thursday? Yeah?
It
I think.
was,
So
all
yeah, I was
day.
up from 7:30 and 9:30 with meetings.
I sincerely and truly enjoy when you wake up and you look and you see that you still have plenty of time that you can sleep and not have to stress about, oh, you know, I'm like 10 minutes away from my alarm going off. That's a great nap.
Question. When we
Hey,
talked
sir.
about holiday, is that spelled like Holiday?
Yep.
Okay.
I could not find anywhere why it's called that. Peyton,
Thank
are you on the
you.
case? Are
Uh,
you sketching?
I'm inking stuff, so I don't want to
Nice.
make spelling errors.
Argus
Understood.
took a holiday and didn't stay on course, right?
That's where I always thought it came from. Like the ship took a holiday,
Yeah,
Like
that's
a-
what I'm thinking.
Like a passive aggressive.
but it could be something.
We'll make up
co-
the definition
completely
and put it
different.
on Wikipedia.
Yeah, we have that power.
So, Rennie, can you, a viewer has been sending in all these different things that the Okeanos will be doing. Can you explain what synthetic aperture sonar is?
Not well enough for SPL.
Maybe the viewer can.
Better than side scan sonar.
Yeah, there's synthetic aperture radar as well, but I'd have to crawl into my memory bank for that one.
It's unfortunate that the organization that has those great tools doesn't have a mechanism for people to ask questions.
It'd make their watches so much
Nautilus
more lively.
1.
Rennie, can you explain what the Roman bottle does?
The Roman bottle, it's powers the Roman camera system.
Explain what the Roman camera system is.
I'm not a Roman student.
Don't you
Only
not have to be?
I can give
You're
that one a
asking
go.
in
All right,
terms of the
Dan.
GUI, right?
No, just for the viewers to
Oh,
It's
understand
it's
how
a pair of stereo cameras that's doing photogrammetry, but there's also an element of laser distance scanning as well, laser measurement.
So they can do, yeah.
Basically, they're
Creates a point cloud that they can map the 3D image onto, I believe.
without all the techno mumbo jumbo, they're making a 3D model with it.
Yeah.
So they can take a picture and create a 3D model.
using camera, sound, and light, like LiDAR? Is it all those elements?
The stereo camera is the difference because one camera is slightly different angle than the other one. So the difference in the pixel.
Okay.
They basically use that to some fancy software to extrapolate a mono. We did one of the calderas in the Tonga Trench with that system. It's very similar to this. Spent days and days and days mowing the lawn, but at the end of the day, we had this beautiful 3D model that you could present in an IMAX theater, and you could walk around in the caldera.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
That's
that
awesome.
shipwreck we have downstairs in the hallway, Monterey A, that's not just an image, that's actually a 3D model of that shipwreck that they used.
Awesome.
It's their system for. They've also done some work on diffuse hydrothermal vent fields. That was Clara's work.
Can you explain the difference between an Echo Seeker and an Echo Ranger?
A what?
An Echo Seeker and an Echo Ranger.
Feels like Rennie just got hired at West Marine and got thrown onto, onto the sales floor.
No, I'm not really too familiar with those two terms or the difference between them.
What kind of radio should I get for my boat?
Well, we happen to sell a few.
Right now we have a clearance special.
We sell a lot of these ones.
Ed, is there that's a good question, an age limit? I know, you walked into it. Is there an age limit for interns?
I'm sure to say to work at West Marine. I'm sure that's a thing still.
Depends on what state or province. Yes, I believe it's 18. Or 18 has the age of coming out.
Okay.
But we do accept, I mean, we've had people who have just entered college come out, people who have just graduated college, people who are in grad school, and people who have just completed grad school.
Nice.
So
it depends on what internship you're applying for.
Yeah, I can only speak for the video engineering one because that's the one I know.
If you're an educator, they'll say there's not really an age limit on it, because I am definitely not 18.
There might be a minimal age limit on the SCF one.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming those people are all out of college.
Some of the requirements, like in, at least for the program that I manage, we need them to be a resident of North America. And these are requirements that are put on by the funders of the internship program. So they have limitations on where we can accept people from. You could be a citizen of any country, you just have to be living in North America. And so we have to work within the constraints of that. But however, because of the generosity of these supporters, our internships, we cover all of your travel costs, we pay for your meals, you receive a healthy stipend that I think for every college student more than covers their monthly expenses back home while they're out here. So they're not missing out on work opportunities and going in the hole. And you have real responsibilities and real training and real mentoring. So, but yeah, the age thing, if you were 14, it would just gotta wait.
Yeah.
And it's a competitive process, but certainly there's people who apply several times before they're accepted. And,
Keep those questions coming. Hello to our Canadians. Thanks for joining us.
Do we have any? We don't have any Canadians in here now, I don't think. I live in a suburb of Canada almost. As does Megan. Although you probably don't do a lot of work in Canada, do you, Megan?
Negative. I have not done work in Canada, although we've been to Victoria a bunch of times, but that was for fun.
That's, my firm has a client that's based out of the University of Victoria with offices in Sydney, British Columbia.
Oh.
Which is up towards the ferry terminal.
We took a float plane to go to Victoria from Seattle.
Kenmore Air?
Really cool. Yeah, Kenmore.
Yeah.
And it was really fun.
Alice and I have done that for when we worked at UW for meetings with an ROV provider up there.
Oh, as you do.
Yeah, that's great to have some
cool.
work paying for
that.
And we, where'd we go from? South Lake Union.
Yeah, South Lake Union.
That's an awesome landing coming into the inner
yes,
harbor there.
It's beautiful.
Arc around and just,
you know what's even
they
better?
come in hard.
Taking the research vessel Thompson through the ship canal to the University of Washington dock. So it goes through Lake Union and you have an amazing view of downtown.
Wow.
From the vessel.
I can't believe that ship gets through those locks.
Oh yeah, it takes the whole lock. It's a federal vessel, so it has priority. It also can make all the bridges go up whenever it wants to. It doesn't have to wait till after rush hour. They try and time it so it's middle of the day, or like 10 a.m.
Yeah, I've made that trip in and out a couple times on the Thompson.
Hello, Nova Scotia.
Also done it on a little crab boat too.
Nova Scotia, I wonder if that's Vinny.
It's Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Mr. Auger.
I was definitely doing a lot of research on Bellinis in Victoria.
In Victoria, researching Belize?
Bellinis.
Oh, okay.
What are those?
It's an adult beverage.
Yes.
Ah.
It's like an adult slushie.
Adult juice.
You get them at the Heron Sea Heritage Foundation.
That's right. That is right.
Man.
Good tonic for the hair.
Adds extra shine.
I remember my friend was telling me about in this game, they had this like tropical cocktail, but because it was a kid's game, it was Animal Crossing, they called it vacation juice.
What?
Vacation juice.
Huh.
I like it.
Do we have anybody from Auckland, New Zealand? We haven't really had any Kiwis tuning in, huh?
Yeah, not very many New Zealanders as of late.
School's on holiday in New Zealand right now.
But there's a music radio group and all sorts of commemorations of him in New Zealand, so I thought some people would hop on.
Yeah, I thought so too.
They will once we find the plane.
Let me think about that. That's, oh, into that.
It's
That
getting cloudy out there.
is, what is that looking at? Yeah, but that monitor is not a video monitor, it's on the KVM. And we have pathways from the video router into the KVM, so let me look at those real quick. Cam wire, there it is. That's not, is that correct? And what's, yeah. And what's the benefit? I think we should put that on all monitors by end of launch. I don't know.
Dr. Megan, it appears Heather is doing some of the same research you are.
Heather and I went to Victoria together once. Actually, we went to the botanical gardens, and then we also went to a butterfly garden, and it was really cool.
Have you had tea at the Empress?
No, neither of us like tea, and only I like Prosecco.
Oh, right.
So we didn't go. But we sort of walked around it. It's a beautiful hotel. We did a little walkthrough.
Justin and I found some fizzy Prosecco gummies in Auckland.
Ooh, I'm not so sure about that.
Delicious. Delicious.
Did anybody try any of those kiwi candies? Couldn't tell if they were gross or not.
What is a kiwi candy?
I don't know. That was more of my.
You saw them in a store somewhere?
Yeah, it was in the. They were in a bunch of the airport stores while I was waiting.
Is it made of Vegemite?
I don't know.
Have you ever had Vegemite?
I don't believe I have.
We have a
it's on
Aussie.
board. It's on board.
That's from Lindsay, who's our what's he, mapping supervisor, Rennie? Mapping lead.
I believe his role at OET is mapping and science coordinator or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, the Vegemite is.
That's his.
Well, we all, Miles, myself, and Lindsay bring on the Vegemite because we like it.
Oh, Samantha was eating it too.
Yeah.
It's just salt.
Ed seems not impressed.
Yeah.
It's an acquired taste, I think.
Just think of the opposite of Nutella.
You'd have a bad day if you went in thinking that was Nutella and you put it all. Took a big bite of it.
Concur.
So the question coming in about any time remaining to dive to explore identified targets, we don't really have that time to dive with Hercules on any of those targets. Plus, those targets, especially the most promising ones, have turned out to be rocks. So that's why we're continuing the search area and not hovering over any of those with Argus or trying to attach Hercules. We explored those most promising 3031 targets about 3 a.m. local time and basked in the presence of major geologic rocks. Which seems redundant.
I was about to say.
It's when you start saying geologic feature and switch to rocks halfway through.
They are the most geologic rocks that we've seen so far, though.
Very much. So geologic, it's incredible.
That's right.
Such rocky rocks. They are.
Rock, rock.
Rock, rock.
Does that make it rock squared?
Only if it's geologic.
Only if it's geologic.
Yeah.
I hear those extra geologic rocks are excellent for your hair.
What's going on with these green lines?
That's a great question. I turn to Rennie.
I suspect that's the scan converter.
You mean on the
screen?
On the side scan?
It might be a recording element, like perhaps it's reached the end of its...
Yeah, it's now at 0.001, so I was thinking it might have switched files.
It's reached the end of its recordable file size and has
Yeah,
switched to
it
another.
it just passed 2,048 megabytes, which would be the point at which it's, assuming it's using a FAT32 file system,
Yeah.
that it's writing a 2 gigabyte file and then starting a new file.
But yeah, as Peyton just said, the file name changed, so
Ah, I don't see that anywhere.
explains that.
Did everybody see the sharks?
Yes.
No, I saw the mahi-mahi last night, but
Swim call.
I have a video if you want to see it later.
Sea of sharks.
Sea of sharks.
Did you find out what kind of sharks they were?
I did.
What were they?
White tip reef sharks
I knew
or
it.
white tip
Oceanic reef
oceanic
shark?
sharks.
Yeah, that's what I called.
She
And I
we
was-
saw an
I was
oceanic
there.
white-tip out on our way down.
Oh, we did on this trip?
We did on this trip? No, on the way down from Honolulu.
Oh.
I also like.
But that's what was over the side earlier today.
Was it an oceanic white-tip?
Yes.
Oh, it was an
absolutely.
oceanic white tip, and so there were three
Wow.
or four last night, and then I think we saw 3 earlier, so it might have been the same ones. But I was looking into it, and so apparently they follow ships, like they're known for following ships or other like cetaceans, marine mammals, even though they only feed on like cephalopods and fish.
Big rock.
Another interesting thing that was up on its Wikipedia page is that apparently Jacques Cousteau calls them the most dangerous sharks because they often will sort of converge on plane wrecks or shipwrecks and then cause problems for survivors of those as well.
What do you think of this shape, Dr. Megan,
What are,
in the sonar?
it looks a lot like the rocks that we've seen everywhere. That's a very interesting shadow in front of it,
Mm-hmm.
but it looks like the same stretch mark with the 2 sort of point rocks that we've seen.
Are we going to pick that up again on the next leg, Rennie? Is there a next leg?
Nope.
We can mark it for funsies. I mean, we haven't marked anything in a really long time.
Yeah, let's mark it. Just
Yeah.
Cool.
the
mass
stretching
of
of it. I don't.
I see striations.
Let's do it.
I
This
think
will be
that's a
target
result of it being
61.
stretched, but I think it's still
6-1.
worth it. We'll tell Mike about it. He can maybe throw it in there quickly.
Yeah, and see.
What's
this is
the
on port?
distance to
Port
port?
side was 100 meters.
Interesting that that was like after a really wide area of like nothing.
Of no rocks, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
There should be a corresponding image on the other sonar. We would have picked it up from the other pass. So we can compare those, but
Okay.
in post. What's 61?
61. How do you want to describe this?
Rock fortress
Nice.
with cool bits.
Rock of Ages.
You can throw in striations in there if you really want to be professional sounding. Are you good with this?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, Peyton, I read about the some shipwrecks and stuff, and what you're talking about with the oceanic white tips, they sound terrifying, especially because they school and they're
Yeah.
pelagic and they just roam the seas looking for anything.
So good questions coming about the sonar.
I did, but it kept dropping off.
The red and green lines are the base of the side scan sonar, or at least the base of where the measurements are being taken from the end of the nadir, which is the space underneath where it is not being scanned. And a question coming about, is there any type of computer enhancement of the sonar data? And the answer to that is yes. We wouldn't necessarily maybe call it enhancement, but it is a computer program that Dr. Mike Brennan runs to clean up and kind of minimize some of the distortion and interference that comes along with using our side scan sonar. So better just clean up the images a bit make them easier to distinguish. Hello, Buford, Georgia. Lonnie, do you know when the Simone Clipper was built?
Simone Clipper was delivered November 1936 in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Its first name was not the Simone Clipper, it was Pan Am Clipper 2.
How long would it have taken Sikorsky to build that plane? Was it? I know you mentioned that time it was still considered experimental.
Well, I didn't really mean experimental in that way. I meant it had a restricted license.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a better choice of words to explain why it slipped through that regulation about capping the dump valve. Let me see if I could answer your question.
Wonderful.
Have to be on the assembly line to know. I can't tell you. I don't know how long it takes to build one.
No worries. I have a question for Rennie from Dan from Pittsburgh. If there are any backscatter surveys made of this search area?
Backscatter surveys, yes.
Backscatter.
Well, the side scan sonar itself, what we're looking at is a backscatter image. And the entire area has been multi-beamed with a shipboard multi-beam system, and the backscatter, the intensity of the return of the signal, that's what we're talking about when we talk about backscatter, that was recorded and viewed, but the depths here from shipboard multi-beam make the resolution not useful for finding a plane of this size. So yes.
Great explanation again. Thanks for those questions. Keep them coming. Greetings to our 2 New Zealanders who have joined us.
Ooh, where in New Zealand?
That's a great
I'm going to guess
question.
one in Wellington.
Lonnie and I were looking at some construction photos of a different S-42, and it looked like it took approximately 9 months to build.
You got to do a lot of scrolling on that map.
I do.
9 months. Wow.
I think so.
Oh, I went the long way.
Looks like Auckland.
I'm going to trust your judgment.
You don't trust my judgment?
I said I will trust your judgment.
Okay. No, that looks like Auckland to me.
Auckland
In which case,
is underwater now? Man.
I highly recommend...
Is that why nobody's tuning in?
Caretakers. Highly recommend Caretakers. I'm headquarters, but Caretakers. Yep. I've got to learn how to say the name of the Maori language. T something.
Palmerston.
Tay?
New Zealand. Palmerston. It's Moya.
What? Oh.
Hey,
I don't
Moya.
think that's what that dot is. I think Moya's on the southern part of the North Island, if I'm correct. But anyway, hey! Moya is a faithful viewer and follower of Nautilus.
I know.
Well informed. Great content.
Thanks for the question from Ian from Tennessee. The control van is the control center, the brains of being able to operate the ROVs, as well as the video systems throughout the ship. So it's essentially 2 metal cargo shipping containers fused together, welded together.
So I'm looking up the Maori language, and
Yeah.
May I just, before, I'm
Yes.
so sorry, while Ian
No.
is still with us, Ian is a wonderful young boy who is Shannon's brother from Tennessee. Thanks for tuning in, Ian. Okay, sorry for the interruption.
No, it wasn't an interruption at all. My first resource to go and find out the name of the Maori language was not Google or online, but we got a text or a message sent in from Moya several days ago, and I actually took a photo of it with my phone, and it's in here. T-E space R-E-O. Tereo. I'm sure I'm butchering that. I apologize. I'm sure you can look that up if you're interested.
Moya says you have an excellent memory, Ed.
Yeah, I tried to. Thanks.
Anybody ever
talk
read
to
the
somebody
books?
for 3 years?
Anybody, sorry,
Read books, eh?
have you read Song Lines
Song lines. I don't think so.
by Bruce, is it Chatham? I think it's about all that.
It's about which?
I'm not sure, look it up, I don't want to say the wrong
Okay.
thing.
The book is called Songlines.
Song Lines, the memory of ancient paths where the Maori didn't need compasses or whatever to retrace their ancestral steps. They would just set out on instinct and inherited memory, I guess.
By Bruce Chatwin.
Chatwin, yeah.
1987 published.
And you're really introduced to this at the War Museum in Auckland. They assign a hierarchy of entities to the nature kingdom, which is almost like the Latin classification system. Although some of it is more not as scientific, like I think it's eels and fish were are more closely related in that system.
Wasn't quite a Linnaean system.
Throughout, there's one specific room of the museum where they have all different phyla of animals, and they include how the Maori culture represents how these animals are related to one another, and where what they were sourced from. Really interesting. Love to. Man, that would be a great place to go on holiday. Spend some time down there learning. I need a fellowship to. How did you get your fellowships? How do you find those?
A whole lot of Google searches.
Oh, yeah.
And then once you are in one, you quite often meet a lot of people who've done a lot of others.
Yeah.
And you kind of share, and people say, this is a great experience. I learned this and was able to bring this to my classroom and help my students with this space of it.
The world of film and video production is the same. Whenever there's a break on set, all the contractors or your first AD is talking to the craft services people, trying to figure out where there's other jobs going on, and how do I get them where, they talk to the DP and is there anything else I can help you with? And it's that networking that's so crucial to advancing.
Makes a difference. Plus, it's great to know the people who are just as passionate and pushing themselves in the same field that you're passionate about.
Yeah, exactly. I always like with well within constraints, as I can afford the time, especially in the off season, to contribute to other people's projects. I have about a 2 to 4 hour limit.
Yeah.
But if Megan was going off to do some sort of underwater archaeology and had media questions or how to, that kind of thing, I'm always happy to contribute to, and it advances stuff. And, it doesn't kill me to do that, and you never know what ends up developing into something else. It's not always about You know, we got to do a contract and invoice for me to answer any questions.
Yeah.
You just help people out as you can, and all things work out.
Yeah. I had students, we were national finalists in a Samsung competition, and we were going to New York to present, but they also had another component where you could actually, people could vote for their favorite project.
Oh, yeah.
And I reached out to a lot of people from a lot of different fellowships. And
Oh, right. Said, hey, we're trying to get our...
Yeah, it really helped us and helped the kids get some more votes. We didn't win that section of it, but it was great to have that support from a much larger network.
Where you live, if there's an activity that kids want to do, class trip, end of the year, whatever, do they ever do a car wash to help fund that? Is that
Yeah, there's
something
still car washes, yep.
And when they have a car wash, is it a bunch of kids standing by the road holding signs and acting goofy while their parents are washing cars?
I usually see kids doing both components of it, but there's adults like supervising to make sure.
I've seen the kids washing the cars.
It seems like in the Pacific Northwest, it's always the parents washing the cars.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, that's not, I don't know.
I mean, it's advertising right there. People like kids. So
but if you want to, if you want to earn your way on a trip, you should work. I know I'm crazy and old-fashioned.
Yeah.
I don't know where I get these notions from, but yeah, just my thought.
Why don't you guys have an ROV wash? That would be kind of cool.
For here.
With your whenever you come into port.
People pay to wash the ROV?
Ah, that would be cool. Pay to touch our ROV.
I don't know if the ROV team would allow that to happen.
Yeah. Right.
I've been wondering how the camera on the bottom of Argus is protected. So, of course, it's in some sort of casing, but then I would think the outside would be all salty on the...
Yeah, so you can actually see it in that image up there. It's pointed all the way down. The black part's on the lower right of that image. And the camera is inside a titanium housing. And the titanium housing is probably 2.5 feet long and 18 inches around. And that titanium is, you know, a great protection. And it's about, the titanium itself is probably 6 inches thick around the sides, maybe a little less. And it's 1 atmosphere inside that housing. It has a puck in front of the camera and a glass dome on the end, and that's how it's protected so no water gets in there. I think there's 7 O-rings inside the camera system. And then there's cable penetrations on the back so we can get power and commands into the camera and we get video out. And then the mechanism that's holding it before we recover the ROV, it goes back, it rotates. It's an electric motor that's chain driven, and it goes back to that camera pointing straight ahead.
So do you have to rinse it with fresh water when it comes out?
Yes, the entire vehicles are all washed with fresh water on recovery. And then there's an entire post-flight routine that the ROV crew goes through, and then a pre-flight routine that they go through.
Just like for a plane.
Absolutely. It's a mandated checklist, and not only is it a checklist, but values are recorded. And those checklists are retained over time so that we can see trends and identify faults or components that have been consistently failing over time. We can also keep track of replacement cycles. Has it been in there for so many hours? Then we need to replace these bits, etc.
How thick is that glass?
And there's, it's pretty thick. There, I have a counterpart who's not on board right now, who is the ROV operations manager. And so the Argus and the Hercules pilots all report to him. And when he's not on the vessel, he has designated one of the ROV crew as lead. And on this leg, that's Trevor.
Okay.
And Trevor is a 2nd generation ROV pilot.
Oh, interesting.
And I've sailed with his father many times. So it's a very close-knit, small community.
Hey,
Thank
Ed,
you.
Is there any, are there any plans to sort of pimp out Hercules with the same sort of lighting rig as the one on is it Deep Discover? Is
Yeah.
that Okeanos'?
Yeah, which they commonly call D2.
Okay.
There's lots of plans in the works for OET and propelling the organization forward. Now that we have this cooperative institute, that's a lot easier to do. That's a recently announced activity that Dr. Ballard was talking about the other day on the interaction with us, I think.
Oh, okay.
And that's in combination with several other organizations, and it's well funded. So these things like autonomous surface vessels, autonomous underwater vehicles, improvements to vehicles, new vehicles, mobile capabilities, all of that is coming down the pike and happening.
And what company is that? What partnership?
You mean the consortium? I'm speaking specifically about OET, but the consortium is between, and I may get this wrong, so I apologize because I'm not well versed in it. I'll just say it's several very, very large organizations.
Okay.
And they don't have, I mean, it's just recently, very recently got approved, so we don't, there's no web presence up yet. There's a lot of work to happen to get it moving forward, but the green light has been given.
Yes, because Dr. Ballard mentioned that it was coming at the workshop in March, so
Yep.
I was just wondering.
Yeah, that was huge news. There was a lot of time and effort that went into creating that. And that's a great funding mechanism, and it certainly aligns with OET's mission to develop the next generation of tools and technologies, as well as training upcoming young professionals and scientists and engineers and technicians.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Right, Peyton?
Right, Ed.
Although we're obligated to be training you, but I think we're learning more from you than the inverse.
I think I've been learning a lot about like sort of expectations versus realities with marine exploration. I think being on board a boat, you really get such a different experience in terms of like what marine science looks like, and it's also just like one snapshot of like this entire industry and field. But it's been amazing so far.
Good. Well, hold on to your hat.
Oh, we're not done yet.
Hold on to our hat. We're gonna find the Samoan clipper
Yeah.
right now.
Well, that would be something.
You say it enough, maybe it'll work.
Yeah.
Lonnie's gonna turn this
You know,
car
if
around.
it came into view right now, everybody on board would be like, I knew it. I knew we would get it.
I know.
It was only a matter of time.
Yeah, I knew it. Bob always says that he frequently Bob Ballard, his target on the last dive or the last hour is when it always comes into view.
Oh, it's like a real, a little
there's
deep
like a
spot.
tiny little blip right there.
Well, they would have imaged it on the last line too.
Oh, that's true.
But we'll take a look.
Yeah. Having fun there, Ed?
Just trying to get Summer's attention. You know what? It worked.
She was thinking of her next riddle.
Yeah. Oh, I used that reference on the other watch and it went nowhere. It was a great reference too. I snuck in about having to go down the hallway and look at the lighter. And I look around and I was like, oh wait, that was the other watch. No, I snuck in a reference to it, but
Only the audience caught that one.
so where are we going after the end of this line?
South lines.
Great.
How many south lines are there, Doctor?
That
was
is
that?
a question for Nav.
Could you repeat it?
How many, we're going to the southern lines after this. How many are there?
Double check. I think we ran one of them, so between 5 and 6 lines.
But I think they're shorter.
They're as short, roughly as short as the original survey.
An hour or so a piece.
No, I think those were about 2.5. Data, can you tell me the line of the southern lines that we ran, the number of it?
Sure. I think that was...
Was that 27?
Oh, you know what? I wrote it down, actually, in my comic page. I think that was 36.
36 we ran?
Yeah,
okay.
Let me check it just to be sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, 36 is what we have written down.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. So we'll start with line 35 after this. Go down.
And just to confirm, the current line is 30?
Yes.
Okay, great.
That's correct.
Question coming in about how many hours Argus has been down at this point. It's over 100.
Oh, I know this. If I'm on the same day, and we haven't lost a day, it's 111. And 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And that's from when I started recording, which would be when the vehicle was turned on, which had been right after Mark let go of it on launch. So that's probably within 10 seconds of splash, 10 to 30.
Wow, you've got it down to a science.
Yeah, it's a little bit easy because I have a counter here that tells me how long I've been recording.
Oh.
And once it gets to 24 hours, it rolls over.
Gotcha.
So I know I'm at 96 hours. And I had already done that math earlier. So I just take the current time, which is 15 hours. To get 96 up to 100, I subtract 4, that leaves 11. Simple math. This record will stand for a long time, I think.
Yeah, we kind of shattered the record.
Doubled it. Yeah.
And then the
Cheating because there wasn't anything on Herc to break over time.
Yeah, if we had a comp down there.
Wow, we weren't filling up sample boxes either.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's really subtle.
Are you going to do this on the next leg?
No, you're not here. We're doing a National Marine Sanctuary of American Samoa leg. So a lot of geo and bio. It's one of the great things about this program is we sample like rioters loot.
So
we grab things.
There's two of them that do it. They're the two that you really
Hey, Scapazzi.
kind of care about.
Hey,
See you soon.
what? He's in transit today. Where is he at?
I don't know.
San Francisco? Maybe he flew to Honolulu first?
He's hanging out in an airport, checking out the EV Nautilus.
5:30 p.m. I could be leaving tonight. I can look up his travel plans, or he can tell us. Where are you, Anthony? Please don't say something like Phoenix or Baltimore.
Question coming in about this area.
Or CBP holding tank.
Was Samoa involved in any type of battles during World War II?
Wow, that's a great question.
It is. I don't know the answer to that one. I think Lonnie might, maybe.
I believe not.
Omega? No?
No, I do not know.
So Dr. Megan wins.
I think we might be a little far east for that.
But Pan Am was heavily involved in World War II, transporting cargo and other materials, logistically involved. And that was the book that I lost on the flight here. It's called Pan Am at War. On the little otter hopper that we took over, it disappeared out of my suitcase. Maybe they have it back at the airport.
Maybe we can find it
Oh,
when
yeah.
we're
Or on
back.
the bus, all the shuffling of luggage.
Before we left the bus at the airport, Lonnie,
Yes?
I went through the bus and I looked under every single seat before I released that bus.
Oh, you're a good monitor. Thank you. So
Yeah.
it's in the airport.
Yep, it was not in that bus.
Anthony is going from San Francisco to Auckland.
Ah, right.
Hasn't quite left home yet.
He's at SFO though, I bet. I think.
There's a whole chapter in the book about the Clippers.
Ah, got to get you your book back.
That book was written by John Hill from SFMO Museum, who recently retired, and he was talking with Russ, I think, earlier today.
Yes, he called in this
that's
morning.
Yeah, online.
Yes. Maybe he'll send me another copy. Autographed.
So Lonnie, your children's books, which ages are they geared for?
Well, the Kids to Space books are really for adults too, because adults are too afraid to ask certain questions because they don't they feel like they should know the answers. Kids aren't afraid to ask anything. So Kids to Space, the Space Traveler's Guide, is for all ages because it covers about 92 topics on everything except, you know, things I use judgment not to include, but it's a great family book for just asking a question and see who knows the answer. The next book is specifically for grades 5 to 7.
That's a great age.
And it's that's the age where I think if you don't capture the kids by that age, you've lost your chance. And it's hands-on lesson plans with the same order as in the original book, same topic. Same order, all hands-on lesson plans with national standards. You know, which standards you're hitting. And the next book is grades, I'd say 1, 2, 3. So out of the original book, it's one question that would be, could be comprehended. The concept could be comprehended by first, second, or third graders. And I wrote a children's story that runs through the original book and the third book. And that's about a group of kids to get together to form a club because they're interested in space and they learn how to do research and write reports and get back together to share the information and take responsibility for their own area, all the things you're trying to teach kids in the story. And then the kids eventually end up on Enceladus, which is Saturn's brightest moon and is thought to be a place where interstellar spacecraft could refuel. And it's illustrated with, on the cover, with one of the kids skating and carrying the sled with the rosebud, if some of you remember
wow,
Citizen
that's a great
Kane.
reference.
Yes, because as you go into the future, all you really have is your memory.
Yeah.
You can't carry lots of stuff, so whatever is in your brain is your memory of your past. That's what you've got to apply to your future. So that's the image of them carrying the last book that just came out last week was a bedtime story for young children.
We have a housemate who has a 3-year-old.